Are you a self-storage owner or operator looking for service providers to help at your facility? Well, the Storage Business Owners Alliance, also known as the SBOA, has you covered. The SBOA is the premier online hub for connecting self-storage owners and operators to industry-leading products and service providers. We provide one-stop shopping for your business with exclusive offers to save time and money. At the SBOA, we believe by coming together, we help owners and operators grow revenue, gain purchasing power, reduce expenses, improve efficiencies, and increase profitability. We also offer many resources such as our conferences and Self-Storage Unlock webinars to help self-storage owners and operators gain the knowledge needed to become more competitive in the industry. To become an SBOA member or to find out more information, please visit www.thesboa.com today. We can't wait for you to join the Alliance.
Good afternoon, self-storage industry. Happy Thursday. Thank you for joining us for another Self-Storage Unlocked powered by the SBOA. Today, we are going to be talking all about how to motivate your team to sell and make more revenue. For those that you don't know me, my name is Jessica Johnson. I'm the Vice President of the Storage Business Owners Alliance, like I said, better known as the SBOA. And we love bringing these educational seminars to you in the industry. They're free for anyone that is looking to learn with us. And then as you saw in that commercial promo, we do have a new program called Storage for Rookies. If you are looking to get into the self-storage industry or you are newer in the industry and looking to grow and scale your business, it's a great training session for you to attend. Our next one will be on Thursday, September 29th from 12 to 5. It's virtual, just like this. So before we get started, a few quick housekeeping items. On the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see a poll area. If you could please go answer those polls for us. We want to learn more about you and your business so we can better serve you in the industry and get you the help that you need. In the comment section, I see a lot of you. I see Jackie and Max and Phil, a lot of people I know out in the industry chatting where you are from and your name. That is where you're going to ask the speakers the live questions today. Please ask our speakers the questions while we have them here with us live. They are here to help you. So we can't put on these type of events without our partners in the industry. So huge shout out today to Atomic Storage Group, Herbs Management Group, Century Self Storage, and Mini Mall Storage. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started. We're going to just jump right in. I'm going to bring up my first panelist. I have Alex with me from Herbs Storage Management. Hey, Alex.
Jess, how are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm getting ready for Vegas next week. I know you are as well. So it's a good week.
So this is just a kickoff call for Vegas, getting everybody warmed up for what's to come next week.
We're getting primed up. Everybody's better be ready to go, and I hope your livers are ready.
Yeah, mine's fine. I can't speak for you anyway.
We'll see how mine does. Alex, tell me a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in the industry, and what you do with your group.
Awesome. Well, yeah, and you're making me go first, so no pressure. We'll let everybody else figure out what I did wrong here. But no, my name is Alex Herbs. I am with Herbs Management Group based out of the Midwest here, specifically the St. Louis area. We do self-storage management services for a variety of facilities, anywhere from your smaller remote operated stores to larger, full service Class A facilities. We are focused mostly in the Midwest, like I said before, like Missouri, Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana, Kansas, etc. So we like to be able to focus in the cold states, not the warm areas like you're at in Florida, Jess. So we're a family-owned and operated company and rapidly growing, and look excited to be able to help everybody out here.
Awesome. And Alex, you are on a few of the state level boards, correct?
Correct. So I am on the Missouri Self-Storage Owners Association board, and I'm also on the Illinois Self-Storage Association board. So
awesome. So anyone from the audience from Missouri or Illinois, if you ever have questions about either one of those states, I would get with Alex and he can get you in the direction of the right people over at the association. So awesome. Well, thanks for being here today with us, Alex. I appreciate it.
no problem. Thanks for putting it on and looking forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Likewise. All right. My next guest up is the one, the only Raheem, who is now over at Mini Mall Storage. Hey, Raheem.
Hey, Jess, how are you?
I'm doing well. And you're also getting prepped for Vegas, right?
I am. We're going to have an exciting week next week. I do. Yes.
Tell me about it.
Speaking on Thursday at 3:15 and 4:15. The first one, we're going to do a live website audit. And on the second one, we're talking about self-storage, unmanned, and security features, and how to add technology to the piece.
Great topics. I can't wait for those sessions. We will be happy to attend those. Raheem, give the audience a rundown about you and how long you've been in the industry.
I've been in the industry for almost 8 years now, and currently I'm with Mini Mall Self-Storage. We started the year with 53 properties. We're currently sitting at 128, first of September. So, and we're continuing to grow, and you can't do that without a good, solid team around you. And I think that's why I'm excited to be part of this show. So we're going to talk to you guys about some great techniques.
Awesome. And Raheem, how about you? Do you sit on any of the state level boards?
I do. I'm on the board for the TSSA, the biggest SSA state show out there.
Awesome. And you guys have a show coming up pretty soon after the SSA show. Tell me about that.
Yeah, last week of October, and it's definitely going to be a grand one.
Yeah, it's looking really good. I saw the lineup. I'm super excited. Well, thank you so much for being here with us. I'll bring you back up in just a few minutes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next up, I have the one and only Rick Beal from Atomic Storage Group. What's up, Rick?
Hey, Jess, what's going on? How are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. Just living the dream, ready to get this thing started.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Rick, tell me about you and what you do over at Atomic Storage Group and how long you've been in the industry.
Yeah, I've been in the industry for quite a few years now. 10, 15 years, probably, something around there. My experience has been ground up build in my past. I built a handful in Seattle and Salt Lake City. Right now, I'm co-founder of Atomic Storage Group with my partner, Megan Smith. We own and operate sites nationwide, and yeah, that's us.
That's awesome. And you guys will be at SSA, correct? I think Megan's speaking.
We will, yeah. Megan's speaking on scaling your business and scaling systems to make your business work better. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, that'll be a great topic as well. Well, awesome. Well, thanks for being here with us today. And again, I'll bring you up in just a few minutes after we introduce our final speaker.
Great.
Thanks, Rick. All right. Last but not least, I have Scott McLaughlin with us from Century Self Storage. Hey, Scott.
Jess, how are you?
Doing well, Scott. Give me the rundown about you. How long have you been in self-storage? I think you've got everyone on this call beat.
Yeah, so I started in the self-storage industry at about 1998, on and off for over that time till present. I spent some time in multifamily as well. With Century Self-Storage, my company is a full-service consulting, design, development, and property management firm. Right now, we manage in 4 states. We're based out of South Florida. I am not going to Vegas.
Bummer.
I do sit on the Florida Self-Storage Association board with you, though, however.
You do, yes. And we actually have an event coming up in November. Tell the audience about that event.
Our event in November is an owner summit, and I think it's going to be, I know Raheem likes the fact that Texas is the biggest association out there, but I think our event's going to be much more cool than theirs. So we're doing a yacht tour, evening dinner, and then a session the next morning in right on the water there in right outside of Fort Lauderdale. So
yeah,
it ought to be great.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. That's November 1st and November 2nd for anyone that is a property owner in the state of Florida. Get in touch with Scott or I, and we will get you all the information.
Limited
for that
spaces.
event.
Yeah, hurry.
Yeah, yeah, it is limited spaces. That's not a lie. It's not a marketing ploy for us to get you there. There are limited tickets because of the yacht. It can only hold so many people. All right. Well, I'm going to bring everyone back up. Phil O'Hare saying shots fired in the comment section of the audience. So it's going to be like a Texas versus Florida thing.
That's right.
Everything is bigger in Texas, just so you know.
This is true. This is true. All right. Well, to kick this thing off, we're going to talk a lot about staffing today, because obviously that's what we're here to talk about, how we're going to get our staff motivated to sell more units, sell more items for us. So in the spirit of talking about staffing, we always say that your property managers, like your first line of defense. And Raheem, I was kind of shocked to hear this the other day on the planning call. You had said you hear more often than you don't a lot of owners saying, I don't trust my manager. So that's like a huge red flag for me. I think it is probably for everyone on this call, but let's talk about that for a minute as to why that is a red flag and something that they should be looking at.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely. It's a huge red flag, right? And if you think about it, each customer averages about $100 per month in payments. And an average customer stays anywhere from 18 to 24 months. So each transaction that your frontline manager is dealing with ranges anywhere from $1,800 to $2,400. That's the value of that customer that they're dealing. And if you don't trust that manager, that's a huge red flag for you.
For sure. I mean, not only as it relates to, that you're handing them a several $1 million asset and you're giving them the keys to the kingdom on this asset. So definitely something that you definitely should be trusting the people you hire. Does everyone on this call with your management style, do you try to give full trust and then go back and verify on these certain tasks that you're giving your staff to make sure that they are being truthful to you?
Yeah. I think you're exactly right there, Jess. You have to, I think, number one, help them understand, the value of the asset that they're managing and the importance of it. A lot of times folks don't even realize by the time you do an NOI calculation with a cap rate, you're managing a multi-million-dollar asset. So them understanding the importance of that is critical. But then you do need to give them the trust but verify,
Yeah.
Of course.
Now, Scott, let me ask you a question. Someone brand new coming into this industry, they're not going to know what a cap rate is, right? That's lingo that we talk within the industry. Do you sit down with your managers and break down how they get to NOI and how cap rates work and how that would increase the valuation of their property?
Absolutely. I think it's a great exercise when you sit somebody down and you ask them, what do you think the value of this place is, right? You're sitting in the property, interviewing them, for example, or sitting down with them as, one of their first days. And they'll say, $1 million, $2 million, I don't know. And you do the math for them. You walk them through the math, right?
Right.
And explain to them, in some of these cases with these multi-story climate control buildings we're managing, you're looking at a, 18 or $20 million asset. So for them to understand that first and foremost, I think then helps you tie into, why their job is important.
For sure. Anyone have a similar approach or an opposite approach to it?
I think you always want to trust but verify. And I think especially on the range of people that are in this call or on this presentation here, some of you may have hundreds of employees and some of you might be an owner with just one manager in your office there. And regardless of your size and level, you need to have systems and processes in place that you're expecting the manager to stick with. Is it cash deposit every day? Are you taking cash still? When are we doing this? How do we want to report this? And how do you report it back to whoever your leadership is to make sure you can trust but verify every step there? I think everybody on this call can probably attest to a situation that they've walked into, either a new facility they just bought or they're taking over a property for management or doing something. And almost within the first hour, we can tell that the manager's been stealing from them because you ask the owner who's taking care of that, hey, so how do you pull up this report and how do you verify your stuff? And they look you blankly in the face. like, you're crazy. Like, what do you mean verify it? Like, I have a manager, she's doing fine. And it's just, so I think making sure you have systems and processes, no matter your scale, to be sure that you can trust but verify that manager. Hopefully you do that. You're trusting but verifying a ton in the beginning, and hopefully it gets smoother, but you never want to let go of that within your own processes there.
Right, because like if they're with you for several years, you're going to get this level of being comfortable with them, right? But then also with comfort sometimes can come being lackadaisical. So you don't want to ever run into like that sand trap and make that a part of the cycle, right?
Absolutely. I think that's where a lot of people get caught is they're good. They checked them for 6 months and they were doing great. And then they know, the managers know that you've kind of, loosened the leash a little bit, or however you want to call it, that you're not paying as much attention. And that's usually when stuff starts to happen if you're not paying attention or verifying continually.
Yeah. How often do you guys sit down with your teams to review financials? Is that like a weekly task for you, a monthly? Rick, I'll start with you.
Typically financials, we look at those things probably, once a week when it comes over all of our store stuff. I mean, it's very frequent. I think there's a lot of benefit of having the language of money and the language of operations injected into everything we do. So, every conversation we have, we talk about demand. Every conversation we have, we talk about, all these things. But it's fun to me to see by the end of a manager's career with us, even in a very short time, typically they can explain things much better than the owner of the facility when it comes to, how the storage operates, cap rate valuations and things like that. It's great to see that. And I think it's really important because they can see how turning this knob over here and pulling this lever here is going to make a change right here. And they're not going to be able to see that, understand that, unless you take the time to explain that. Kind of like what Scott said a little bit.
Yeah, makes sense. Totally makes sense. Raheem, how about you?
Yeah, same thing. We don't really go over the financials part. I don't know if you guys ever heard of Van Halen and the Brown M&M story, but in their clause that Van Halen had, whenever they would go out and do a show, in their contract that was like 180 pages. In the middle of the contract, they would have a bowl of M&Ms in the studio, and take out all the brown M&Ms out of it. So when they would walk into the show, the first thing they would look for is to see if the brown M&Ms were there. If they saw that, they would open up the whole thing and start going through every detail, making sure, because if the team missed that part, what else did they miss in the setup?
Wow,
so
that's
we sort
impressive.
of look at it, from that same point of view, is instead of looking at the financials, we sort of work with our team on some of the KPIs, right? How are they executing on the touch points that when they interact with the customer? And if we find that they execute well on those, then the financials all work out at the other end.
Yeah. So Jeff Wolf says a manager must understand ROI, cap, and fixed versus controllable expenses. Do you guys agree with all that? Yeah. Anything you can add to that you think that they should understand and be aware of?
I think also the manager needs to have the ability to raise their hand and ask questions and make suggestions as well, especially smaller owner operators. You see that quite frequently when, controllable expenses are wasted. Give the managers an opportunity to shop and do some things to help lower some of those costs.
Got it. Yeah, makes sense. So let's go into, how you guys are getting your team motivated. I mean, number one, motivation should be that they have a job in today's economy, right? Like that should motivate you enough to get up and go to work every day. But for some, it's not the same case, sadly. So Scott, I'll start with you. You had a really cool suggestion, which I really like. You guys over at Century do a monthly sales contest, and you make it something different each month. Talk to me about some of the contests that you've done and what that does within your team, like your employee morale, their rankings, their metrics. Does it help or hinder it? Walk me through some of that.
Sure. So in addition to a monthly incentive program that is tied directly to our KPIs, kind of to Raheem's comments with regard to the KPIs, those touch points are where our incentive program focuses. And so the bonus that we get with the sales contest and such is that it's another method of driving an important KPI while also creating some friendly competition. So we do monthly sales contests. Here recently, they've been focused on protection plan sales. Given the time of year and where a lot of our properties are located in Florida, we really focus on the protection plan sales. And so we may do a twist where this month it's new leases with a protection plan, or new leases with a protection plan, and what's the highest dollar amount value of said protection plan, and all kinds of variations of that. We may include current customers. So when they come in to make a payment, our folks are encouraged to, as part of the contest, try to sell that protection plan when they see that there is not one on the account currently. So that's just some of the ways that we'll use the contest. Now, as far as what it does for the team, they get pretty highly energized. I think by the nature of the business we do and the people we employ at our sites, they are competitive, sales-minded individuals. At least they should be, or maybe they're not in the right career. But if they are, then those contests definitely bring out the competitive side in a friendly manner amongst districts, between districts, things like that.
That's awesome. And Scott, how are you communicating to your team those results? Is it daily? Is it weekly? Is it towards the end of the month? How does that get across to your entire team?
We have the teams, set up through the Google Drive. We'll set up a document that they kind of self-police and self-report their sales successes that are part of the contest, so they can see their daily inputs as well as the inputs of each of their colleagues across every property. So they can kind of watch, they know who they should be watching and things like that. We do, a weekly communication. I've got a district manager who, when you talk about motivating people, she's very motivated in her creativity to be able to drive these contests. And so to motivate her, I let her run with it. And she does a great job of routine, constant communication via email. She puts stuff out on our Slack channels. And that's really where, because it's more of an informal space, we see a lot of the shots fired back and forth, friendly competition, and little side contests that may come between properties as a result.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Now, Raheem, you said over at Mini Mall, you guys take this actually a little bit of a step further. You have an automated dashboard system that your team can log into and look at their rankings and metrics and what they're lacking every single day. Talk to us about that and explain that to me.
Yeah, ours is all about, change the behavior on the front lines. And the way to do that is making sure you show them where they rank currently as of today, based on the numbers that they have put on the board. And we go as far as showing exactly how much, what their bonus amount is for the day and for the month to date. So they can see that it's changing on a daily basis as they improve their numbers. It really changes the behavior and how they drive forward on each one of the goals.
That's awesome. Now, Alex, you guys don't do it monthly. You do a quarterly contest. So kind of the same concept as Scott, but just extending the timeline a little bit further, or tell me how you guys execute it over there.
Yeah, it's pretty similar to Scott's, actually. A lot of times it's more of like a quarterly bonus program, whether it be based on, maybe we do a little bit different because we have a lot of existing facilities, not as many lease-up properties. So we've been starting to implement quarterly bonuses where if we get, if we hit certain metrics that are especially like income metrics and other, move-in metrics and delinquency metrics to get that up, then they are given a bonus after that. But it's on a quarterly basis, not monthly. And then we kind of focus similar to what Scott said with just having some monthly, I would say smaller contests, but still like focused contests, whether it be on Google reviews or on, getting delinquency down or even tenant insurance. So specific little contests that are more supposed to be fun. Then there's the overall quarterly program. And then our team likes to do the same, I think, as Scott kind of said, with the Slack messages. It's a little bit more informal. They like to put back and forth. Our team loves to put when they get move-ins in there. So sometimes I get little frustrated because, or I guess not frustrated. I'm very happy that we're getting all these move-ins, but we're getting messages all day. Oh, another move in here, another move in here, another move. And they love to tell the team that. And it does actually drive a lot of our team to say, hey, well, if they're getting all these move-ins over here in central Missouri, why can't I do that over here in my area too? It seems like they're moving in 4 people a day. And so we have some kind of, internal competition where they like to kind of, jab at each other to be able to push themselves and keep getting more and more rentals there.
Yeah. So you make a good point there where you say you have more existing facilities within your portfolio that really aren't in like a lease-up phase. So I would imagine a lot of you do this. You base the contest and what the key drivers are depending. I mean, each property is unique, right? So you're looking at each individual property and kind of coming up with the metrics that would work for that facility.
Yeah, so like I kind of mentioned in the introduction, we have a range of facilities, anywhere from some smaller remote stores to some larger, just more traditional type managed facilities. So doing a one size fits all, oh my gosh, how many move-ins did you get this month? Where we got a good chunk of facilities that actually they've been 100% full forever. The owner just purchased them. We're managing them now. And it's actually, we're okay with seeing some move outs because we want to get our, occupancy down to 95, 96% and drive some new income. So, if we put a move-in factor on the managers there, they'd be like, well, we don't have any units to rent. We're full. And so, obviously There's other plans in motion to either expand and do other issues, but sometimes our management needs to not be so much on the new move-in or the new customer. It's also existing tenant management and getting some systems and processes in place. As much as the sale is that important, how can we also make sure we're doing a great job of controlling our current tenants and, obviously maximizing our revenues and making sure that we are, keeping our occupancy and statistics in a great spot going forward, along with also selling the new product to people as needed. So it's very much ranges, to say the least, on our side here. So
yeah, for sure. Is that typically standard for you guys too, Scott, Raheem, and Rick? As you look at like your entire portfolio, that there's all those ranges and variances and variables?
Yeah, I kind of sometimes have a different take on bonuses. I've done them a wide variety of ways. I actually don't like to do bonuses. They're not my favorite because, if I have the right people, they're going to be doing the job anyways. And if they're not in the right swim lane, if they're not in the right seat, I need to get that new person in there. So I look at it, can I pay them more and have them perform just as good? And so that's one of the things I always look at a little bit. I would rather pay someone a little bit more because they're going to do their job anyways. They're not going to not get rentals because of, a bonus. So, I've looked at these things a lot of different ways. We've done them a lot of different ways, and some of our stores currently have bonuses. But, really, I would encourage everyone out there to kind of challenge their thinking on some stuff like that, on really what really pushes the numbers at your storage facility to maximize the things you do.
Yeah, makes sense. I do have a question from the audience. Jessica's asking, what has the impact been to each of these strategies on the business? And she's probably referring back to you, Alex, when you were talking about, your contest and strategies are going to be different for a lease-up property versus stabilized property.
Yeah, I mean, the impact's been some major, I would say, year-over-year growth, but even a lot of times month-over-month growth. I mean, you're implementing different, again, each facility is just a little bit different because there is some that need that move-in lease-up strategy, and we got to go from 0% to a very high occupancy, obviously as quick as possible. Mm-hmm. And some have been considered stabilized facilities for many years that, stabilized by a previous owner who maybe only accepted cash and check and sat there in the office 6 days a week hoping somebody came over there, where we're now taking it to a remote facility. So, the impact's been a very substantial growth on the business and on your bottom line, which goes back to what we talked about a little bit before on your net income, and explaining that to the managers and talking to them about, hey, how does your net income truly affect your purchase price and your facility price. And I think anybody on this call who's buying and selling facilities knows, facilities are not going for cheap right now. So you got to make sure you come in and really manage all the existing tenants and keep those going so that you're able to get your money out of it that most likely was just put in. So, so the overall impact is going to go way up, because you should be seeing some, month over month, if not year over year, growth on all of your rentals, your new move-ins, your new street rates, your new customers, tenant protection. Everything else you have at your facilities there.
Yeah. Scott, how about you? Seeing the same thing? It's driving the results that you anticipated, so it's worthwhile.
So very specifically for the contest that I talked about and our focus here recently on protection plans in the past, 90 to 120 days, we're seeing, high double-digit growth in both penetration as well as dollars tied to those protection plans. So yes, you can definitely see where the focus on a store-by-store basis is pushing that metric.
Yeah, that's awesome. How about you? And that's great for you because, right, that's recurring revenue for the lifeline of their lease with you. Hopefully they're staying 18 to 24 months. So for the next 18 to 24 months, you're hands off just collecting that money on that tenant protection program.
And they're protected, right? Ultimately, we're here to make sure the customer has a good experience. And that's the part that once you drive that point home, it's much easier to sell this plan to the customer than to stand in front of them and explain to them why their goods are, now trashed because of something beyond our control that happened. So, yeah.
Yeah. And it really goes into the training element too. SBOA has a tenant insurance program, and I know a lot of the other ones out there, but it really does go into that level of training your staff to feel comfortable in the way they deliver the message that their goods are protected. And you're going to get that sales objection. And we'll talk sales objections here in a minute of, well, now I have a homeowner's policy or I have a renter's policy, but there's so many exclusions that they might not be aware of that they in fact aren't covered, so the training is a key element, especially when it comes to those insurance sales. Raheem, how about you? Are you seeing all of these contests drive the results that you anticipated?
Yeah, they do. I think as soon as you put up a scoreboard, I think how humans interact with that scoreboard changes dramatically, right? And I think that's what we're looking for, is that you can go and hire the right people, but as soon as that scoreboard goes on top and you're starting to get tracked and you're showcase how you rank against everybody else, human factor kicks in and human behavior changes.
Yeah, right. That's for sure too. Yeah, totally agree with that. So let's get into talking about hiring and recruiting and making sure that you have the right person there from the beginning, right? This is a sales position. So if they're introverted and quiet, it might not be the best fit for them. Raheem, tell the audience, I love that you guys do this over at Mini Mall. One of your first steps in the application process is you make that applicant call and leave you a voicemail. Why do you do that?
Because, as you know, over the course of the last 2 to 3 years, our shift in online rentals and online traffic coming in and online leads has increased. So how many times a frontline manager is interacting with a customer over the phones plays a huge factor. So we want to see how they interact with leaving a message. What's their tone of voice? Are they smiling? What kind of a message are they leaving behind? And we sort of use that to gauge what kind of person we have in front of us.
That's awesome. Anybody else have anything to add to that? What they do in like the very first few? Actually, Rick, I'll go to you. You have a cool step. You're looking for a problem solver. So you do something in the applicant email to kind of almost trick them or make sure they're paying attention and that they are a problem solver. Talk me through that process. What you do.
Absolutely. So when we put our ad out, I like to put hoops for people to jump through. Nothing extreme or anything like that, but just very reasonable things. Because there's a couple things that I want. I want someone who's able to solve problems and take problems beyond point A to point B, and also someone who can come with me with solutions and say, hey, here's a problem. Here's the solutions I came up with. What do you think? That's my ideal candidate. And, those problem solutions run the gamut. So it's hard. It's hard to hire for common sense, right? And a lot of times we drop the ball anyways, but, what we like to do is, have them schedule their own interview. So we don't add the hyperlink when we send them that. They have to copy and paste the hyperlink to schedule their own interview. So, and it's crazy to me, time and time again, without fail, I'll get 15 or 20% of the people will email me and message me and say, hey, I can't schedule my interview because the hyperlink doesn't work. Okay, well, it worked for the other 30 people because they just copied and pasted the link. So that tells me, number one, they're not willing to go above and beyond. It also tells me kind of their familiarity with electronics and, things like that matter. So that's one of the things we really like. And then, of course, they have to, schedule it, use the scheduling calendar, show up on time, show up on Zoom, which apparently if you show up on Zoom, the standard of apparel nowadays has just gotten down in a job interview. You can just do your interview on your bed and just wear whatever. Apparently that's cool now.
It's alarming.
Right? You get to really kind of see a lot of these little things behind everyone and really get to know who they are in a relatively short period of time.
Yeah, I tell this story quite often because it's one that just makes me giggle every time I tell it. But I kid you not, we were doing some hiring, and obviously the first step is a 30-minute Zoom interview with us, which God bless, if you can even get them to show up to that, you're lucky. It's a Zoom interview. Like, you don't even have to get in your car and go anywhere. But I'll never forget, we had this guy, and we have Slack too, so we could talk amongst one another internally. And his fire alarm in his house, the battery was dead. So that thing chirps like every 20 to 30 seconds. And I'm like ready to pull my hair out. My coworker and I are like slacking back and forth, like, let's get this call done as soon as possible. And at the end, we were like, dude, you really should invest in whatever a C or D battery next time, because even if he would have been a stellar candidate, I would have not remembered a word he said because I was fixated on the alarm chirping in the background. But you see all kinds of stuff happening out there these days. So, Rick, I'm going to keep directing this to you because I love the analogies that you used the other day during our planning call. So you say for a lease-up property, and I just see some audience questions. I'm going to get them up here in a second, but you want a racehorse for a lease-up property, and you kind of want a farmer for a stabilized property. Talk to me about why you call the racehorse one for the lease-up and why you do the farmer for the stabilized property.
Absolutely. So, I always talk about having the right person in the right seat all the time. So, brand new store, just open up on Monday morning, and you're sitting there back and forth, and you have all these units that you're ready to rent, and no one's answering the phones or whatever's happened. So, you know what? I want a guy or a lady who can close. I know that person has a certain personality to them because I tend to be that kind of personality. They have an expiration date, so they are go. So what happens with that is, they're pretty hard chargers. They're not going to be very detailed oriented people. If anybody knows me, they absolutely know that I am not a detailed-oriented person. So they burn out quick. So, and that's great. But you use them to what they're good at. Manage people's strengths, play people's strengths, manage their weaknesses. So I have a racehorse. I know he's going to expire in about a year and a half or so, and he's going to go full charge. I'm going to rent. As the store matures, I want to bring on someone who is more able to take care of it, more of, the friendly whoever. And so I call them more like the farmer, the more who is here to take care of the place. You're basically renting what you're terming, able to handle objections really well, massive rate increases. Everyone kind of feels like, they're part of a friend in the family. I found a lot of success about that. I think a lot of stores have their own individual personality. So I want to hire to that. Class A facilities are great, but not all of us have those. And so sometimes you need a fix-it person. Sometimes you need kind of a Swiss Army knife. And so really, really understand what you need and really key in and try to hire for that. We've had some stores where interviewed fantastic people and then they drove by where it was at. They're like, we don't feel safe coming over here for work. So great candidates, but just hire for your store. So that's kind of the racehorse and the farmer analogy.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that analogy. Jackie's asking, and this goes back to your hiring process with the link. Are you finding that your hiring process limits the candidate pool?
It does, in a good way, I think. So,
right?
Yeah, at times, we average, I don't know, 30 to 40 candidates, maybe sometimes, depending on the market. But by them being able to do those few things, it also saves me a ton of time. So I can kind of take those 30 to 40 at least down to, 20. And then from those 20, we all know people don't show up. So, that leaves a total of, one, not one, but like maybe 5 or so. But it really helps narrow the candidates down.
Yeah, definitely. I know this came up on the call the other day, but this is funny that Jeff says this. He says, we asked them why storage, gauge what their idea of the job entails. Somebody, and I want to say it was you, Rick, said you don't even want to hire them if they come in saying they want to work for storage. Maybe it wasn't you, but somebody said that.
That was Rick.
Yeah, because
we're all going to leave. We'll just talk to Rick.
Yeah, if they're like, hey, I want to come work for storage, I always say this example because I've seen this before. I went to shop and this old lady comes walking out, smoking out of her trachea with the oxygen tank, and she's towing it. And she's like, how can I help you? Welcome to ATZ Storage. And, people have that image of storage. They don't think of Class A nice facilities. So typically the people who want to work in storage are the people who view it as a very passive job. People who think, hey, this is going to be chill. I can do my homework. I can watch Netflix. I can kind of do stuff like that. So, we tend to hire more for the personality versus the position. And our candidate quality has gone up tenfold. We're looking for these certain personality traits. Oh, and by the way, this is a storage position. And by doing it that way, it has really paid off in dividends.
Awesome. Let me ask all of you this. Do any of you in the hiring process a lot like a shadowing day? Like come live a day in the life of this and see if this is even for you, or they might even self-eliminate. They come in, they do an 8 to 5 and they're like, oh, this was boring or this was fun, or I could see myself doing this. Anybody do that?
Yeah, we do that. We actually have them spend about an hour, 30 minutes, an hour with the current manager, going around, opening doors, closing doors, understand what the day-to-day life of a storage operator is. I think that really helps understand, and eliminate some of the turnover. People show up day one and just have this imagination of what storage is. As Rick was saying, they just think that they have to just sit in the office and play on Netflix all day long because it's storage. What else am I going to do? And, just showing them what a day-to-day operations look like really helps eliminate some of the fluff.
That's awesome.
On that point, I just add really quick, Raheem. It's funny when you say that when you walk around door to door. We've done it during interviews when you walk the property and you're kind of showing them. I heard an old trick is put some garbage out on the property and see if they notice. Throw a few wrappers and some stuff out there and see what the attention to detail is. So not only are they seeing if storage is right for them, it's going to go the other way around to see, hey, are they noticing that we literally have a small box or wrappers laying here in a pile and they're picking them up or something, and kind of test them that way too in a different way.
That's actually a great test, because if they care enough to bend over and pick it up for the sake of the environment, not even anything to do with your property, right? That might tell you a whole lot about who they are as a person, and hope that they do that if they come to your property and work for you for curb appeal, because curb appeal is big. People don't like driving into dirty facilities or facilities that don't look safe. Alana Ross from StorageAuctions.com and I talk about this all the time. Before we visit a storage facility, we check their Google photos just to be safe. We get a gauge from the Google photos whether or not we feel comfortable going there. And sometimes we've even been shocked when we've shown up in that other scenarios. So
is that what you guys do for fun? Just kind of chill and go check out storage facilities?
We're storage nerds. I mean, I'm pretty passionate about this industry, if people can't tell. And I mean, we're selling air, but it's the easiest thing I've ever sold in my life, honestly. So I love it, but that's me.
Scott, keep repeating storage is sexy. Just keep repeating that over and over again.
John Lindsay wrote a book about it, guys. You can go The Sexy Side of Self-Storage. It's real. It's a thing. Scott, I'm going to direct this over to you. Let's talk about some sales objections and how you train your staff, because look, I take things very personally. I don't like to be told no in any part of my life by anyone. I don't. And when I get a no, I'm like, I'm going to turn this to a yes. Might take me 10 times.
I have a feeling that you get very few of them.
I get some no's. You'd be surprised.
I've seen you work the booth at the Florida Self-Storage Association. So
I'm like, here, give me your credit card. Where's your wallet? I'll sign you up right now.
Sales objections are, the easiest way, I think, is as you get your folks trained and comfortable and they start answering the phone, and you've got a process, hopefully, whereby you can listen to those calls. And that's a great place to start. It's a very simple way to run the call and then let the employee kind of self-evaluate how do you think you did based on our plan to close, parameters and the things that we use to drive a solid sales call, and kind of let them self-diagnose. And from there, then use that call for examples that then turn into, the objection, identify that, and alternatives for them. And then the best part is, I think, and I've got some folks who do this really well, is the role play piece. Do that in real time. Throw those live objections back at them, and you'll kind of see how they improve over time after having heard themselves not be able to overcome the objection, and then have the list of alternatives to go by. It's just a part of making them comfortable in the role that they're doing, and helping them understand that you have the training to be the storage expert. So you have the objection you can overcome that objection in your quiver, if you will.
Yeah, I love that. Anybody else have an approach to anybody scripting their staff or trying to give them those, tips and tricks on how to combat the objection?
I can speak up on that one. We do have a process, but we don't script it. We let the manager add their own little flavor to that. And one of the things that we impart to our team members is features tell, benefits sell. So talk to the customer about the benefits of your property and what you bring to the table. And if you're just listing, hey, we have wide aisles, we have cards, and you're just listing a bunch of features, it doesn't really connect with the customer. You really need to help the customer understand how the wide aisle is going to help the SUV or the truck that they're going to bring in, how they can navigate those wide aisles easily, how the rolling carts are going to help the movers move in and out at a faster pace, and how it's going to help them save money. So it's all about trying to help them understand that don't tell the customer about the features, sell the customer by explaining to them how this is going to benefit them.
Yeah, I love that. Rick, what do you guys do to help your staff with objections?
Piggybacking what Raheem said. So one of the things that I like on that is, as you're doing that, make sure to show and tell. So when you're talking about, the security cameras, make sure to do it at the security cameras. When you're talking about the wide aisle drives, do it at the wide aisle drives and not as you're somewhere else. One of the things that I like, one of my markets that I was in that I built a site was one of the first multi-story. So people had giant objections about elevators. It was the worst thing in the world. So calling things out to begin with. So in effect, removing those objections before they're even verbalized or not verbalized. Saying something like, I know we do have elevators here, but let me tell you what our other customers do. So everyone likes to be part of a herd. And so it's kind of that herd mentality of, oh, someone else has that issue and this is how they resolved it. So you're not really doing it. It's more of the community in general, of the storage community, who has resolved that issue. So, this is what my other customers have. So you kind of take away their ammo a little bit. That's either verbal or not. Don't go overboard. Like, oh yeah, this is where we've had 18 break-ins in the last week. We've been taking care of that. There's a fine line between that, but making sure that you tactfully do the things in the right places.
Yeah. I used to love the training method back in my food franchising days where the trainer, that's a 3-step method. The trainer talks you through the process while they demonstrate it. Then the second step is the trainer verbalizes the process and then you demonstrate it back as they're giving you the verbal instruction. And then the third is the trainee then verbalizes it back to the trainer while they're demoing it. So there's those 3 touch points to really like ingrain the process into their, brains as far as, daily routine type stuff that you're doing. There's a lot of stuff coming in. So I'm going to get to these audience questions. Here is one from Shalene. I hope I'm saying your name correct. It's, how do you motivate staff to drive packaging product sales? And we can take this into retail sales, locks, etc. So whoever wants to go up first, go ahead.
I'll go. One of the things that we do is, as you're trying to understand what the customer is storing, we use that when we get back to the office, going, hey, you told me that you were storing a king mattress. Here's the packaging for the king mattress. You told me that you have 30 boxes. Let me help you get these, do you want larges? Do you want mediums? Do you want smalls? So it all starts with a question that you started with is, what are you storing so I can find you the right unit? And then using that information to also connect the customer to, well, now let me help you protect the items that you're going to be storing.
Yeah, it's all about like listening, right? They're telling you exactly, like, as I always tell people, go outside of that desk as they're telling you what they're storing, just start grabbing those items like you just said, Raheem. Plus now with the cost of gas, like we sell it right here. Why are you going to drive down the street to Home Depot or to Walmart for a couple cents saving, maybe $1 saving? You're going to spend that in gas. Get it right here. It's a one-stop shop.
I think to piggyback off of Raheem's comments, that's those are the opportunities, right? Based on what you're hearing in the presentation. I just heard a mirror box. I just heard, flat screen TVs. I just heard, and so grabbing those things, like you said, Jess, and then the motivator piece comes in, again, back to just that simple contest. Maybe you run a contest for the month where you at the lease of the unit is kind of the trigger to qualify you for the contest, but it's not just whether or not you sold packing supply sales, but maybe it's the dollar per transaction, highest dollar per transaction with a tiered prize approach at the end. You put districts against each other, stores against stores, and you publish those rankings frequently, and you communicate with them, on a regular basis. And now you've got somebody, I think, for the folks that are money motivated anyway, because not everybody is. I think you've got something there that's going to cause everybody to maybe go a little harder when they say, I just heard an opportunity to sell some bubble wrap. Yeah. And they go grab the bubble wrap, whereas maybe they wouldn't have otherwise.
Well, and make sure you're
quality stuff there. I've been in plenty of storage facilities where it's just, those awful gloves that no one should ever use, the awful bungee cords from like 1980. I mean, just like, those horrible things. Have good quality things that people actually want.
Yeah.
And don't have a lot. I mean, just have, your good state, run your report to see what sells. And guess what? That's what you stock. So if you haven't sold gloves in the last 25 years, let's get rid of your gloves and save it for things that actually move.
You beat me to the same point, Rick, because it's kind of like how many facilities you walk in and that wall of retail merchandise has dust on it because it hasn't been touched. Because that, and also make sure you train your managers so they actually know what the stuff is if they're trying to sell it. Because if they don't know that that's even a TV box holder, how are they going to be able to tell that? They just have never moved. They only grabbed the tape and a lock off the thing, and instead they never touched the gloves or anything else. So make sure your team understands what it is, and don't be that guy that just says, "Oh, go sell this wall that's dusty and whatever else," because no one wants that because no one else is taking it. And it's dusty. You're not. Why would you want to buy that?
For sure. I mean, I used to preach that in food franchising, right? Because it's food. If it's an empty case, what's that message that it delivers to the customer? That what is in there is stale and old, right? Even though we're talking box cutters and bubble wrap, the same concept could be in their mind of like, ew, how long has this been sitting here? I'm going to spend the last few minutes talking about this. And Alex, I'm going to direct this question to you. And it actually came in from the audience, but we are going to talk about this. More and more facilities are going, there's all different terminologies, hub and spoke, unmanned, remote facilities. So Chad Cocker is asking, with the rise in online rentals and foot traffic in the office decreasing, how do your teams go about selling merchandise? What's the strategy?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just be honest. In a lot of these cases where we don't have as much foot traffic, it's online rentals. We don't put a ton of emphasis into our merchandise sales. And Rick kind of already said it before, is really narrow it down, maybe the few main items. If you still have foot traffic and stuff coming in your office, you probably want to have some locks. You want to have some boxes, maybe some tape here and there, but you don't need an entire giant wall of merchandise that won't move. So you want to be able to quickly have items that are really the quick needed items. I need to get a lock because I'm here on site. If you don't already provide one, I need to get a few boxes, and, keep it simple. There's nothing against that. And make sure, worst case is if you're going into these systems where you're getting more online rentals and foot traffic and stuff, instead of investing your money into a giant merchandise wall, maybe it's time to invest in some more automated procedures, some more online rental procedures, some more things that, in case you aren't there, or you can start phasing yourself out of office hours if you're a smaller owner operator, we can make sure that it's automated. It's as smooth of a process as possible, because your new move-ins would rather have a smooth process from A to Z versus a chopped up process. But guess what? You got a good merchandise, display in your office there. They don't need that. They want to be able to quickly, sorry for the lack of a better word here, quickly get into the unit there.
I think the other thing is, these guys are like $5 when you buy them. Put them in every single unit, and then charge a lock cut fee. Or not a lock cut fee, just a lock fee, or it's just an automatic sell. It's great. I mean,
got it. Last, I'm going to do a quick fire round, and we'll go around the table. If I'm a new owner operator and I don't even know where to begin with a bonus program and what KPIs I should be measuring, each one of you give me your favorite KPI to measure, and we'll give them a list of at least 4 to start with. Scott, I'll start with you.
I really like to look at square foot occupancy versus economic occupancy in that gap.
Okay.
It's a good place to it tells me a lot about, in a stable market, the property should be sitting 93, 95%. That gap should be 5% unless we know something crazy is happening, like down in Miami with our rates. If I don't see a 15 or 20% gap in economic to street rate or to square foot occupancy, I know I've got a problem with where the rates are set. So that's a metric I like because it tells a lot very quickly.
Awesome. Raheem, how about you?
I'll give you 2, AutoPay and Google.
Okay. Google reviews and how many people are on AutoPay out of the entire facility. Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah.
Got it. Cool. Alex, how about you?
I would similarly to Scott's, but I would say basically seeing your actual rental income go up each month, not your gross potential income, but you're getting new customers in, and your normal rented rates are consistently going up. So if you started when you bought it, you're bringing 20 grand a month, and you're seeing it's going to 26 and then 28 because you're moving in new customers that are paying higher rates than before. That's a positive there for me that I'm always looking at.
Got it. And Rick, finally with you, what is your favorite one?
Demand inquiries, 100% demand inquiries. How many people are inquiring 10 by 10s and how many are you closing? That's huge for us.
So you're looking at your conversion rates, see how many are closing.
And how many people are inquiring on them.
Awesome. Well, guys, we are out of time. I feel like we could keep going on and on about this topic, so maybe we'll have to have a secondary session on this. Just want to send out a quick reminder to the audience. If you are going to the National SSA show in Las Vegas, it is next week. Please come visit the SBOA at booth number 154. Alex, are you speaking there? Do you have a booth there?
I do not have a booth there, but I am speaking, and I forgot to mention that in my introduction. So Friday morning, I'm speaking with another industry expert, Gary Edmonds, on third-party management and the different types, and so what fits best for your facility and what you need going forward. So I'll be first thing Friday morning. So make sure your coffee and get up. Yeah,
that one hurts.
They gave me the coveted spot, so make sure you get your coffee, get up, and then go right to the plane. Yeah, so.
I was the first thing Friday morning at the March show, and that's a tough one because Thursday night's a lot of fun. So I would just make sure you have some Tylenol and water as a backup, Alex.
I'll control myself, hopefully.
We all say that. We all have good intentions of saying that.
I'm knocking on wood as I do that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then a couple other quick announcements. We will be back in actually 3 weeks, not scheduled for 2, because normally Thursday, September 15th, we would have had a self-storage unlocked, but I will be at the Maine Self-Storage Association show. I can't talk today. It's coming to an end for me. And then after that, on September 22nd, we will have another self-storage unlocked. You can go to the SBOA.com and go to our upcoming event section to register now. That is open for registration. And that version, we are going to talk all about how to build your self-storage brand. Guys, thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure speaking with all of you today. I hope the audience got a lot out of this. I sure did. They were a very lively bunch, so I think that they're appreciative. I hope all of you have a good rest of your Thursday, and I will see most of you next week.
Enjoy.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Have a good afternoon.